Hello, my friends, to this special edition of More Bad News. This week, I'm going to be reading a short review that I did in 2007 about the gassing of Halabja, a city in Iraq in 1988. It will help provide a little bit of background and perhaps some perspective. So here, without further ado, uh, the name of the book is A Poisonous Affair, America, Iraq, and the Gassing of Halabja. It was published by Cambridge University Press in 2007. Joost R. Hiltermann is a first-rate scholar and diplomat. He is a deputy director of the Middle East for the International Crisis Group. Prior to that, he served as the director for the Arms Division of the Human Rights Watch, and under whose auspices he went to Iraq in 1992 to locate and interview survivors of the Iraqi poison gas attack on the Kurds in the 1980s. He is also a prolific author and scholar of articles on the region, writing regularly about for the Middle East Report, for the Journal of Palestine Studies, the International Journal of Middle East Studies, and numerous other journals, newspapers, and magazines. His first book, Behind the Intifada, Labor and the Women's Movement in the Occupied Territories, in 1991 received little notice, but it was highly regarded. But this latest book has brought him a much greater recognition because it deals with one of the most significant violations of human rights and international law since World War I. On one level, A Poisonous Affair is an extraordinarily dispassionate and scholarly account of the gassing of Halabja, a city in Iraq's Kurdish region, in March 1988, and the subsequent Iraqi campaign aimed at driving the Kurds out of northern Iraq. It is estimated that some 100,000 Kurdish civilians were killed or driven from their homes by poison gas. Those who did not die in the gassing campaign were rounded up and transported to extermination sites in Iraq's western desert and murdered in cold blood and buried in mass graves. On another level, this monograph lays out how those events impacted the entire history of the Middle East from the 1980s to the present. Gassing an entire city is without precedent in history. It should have brought near universal condemnation along with a strong international response. At a crucial moment, however, when the world was first learning of the night marriage, responding to the night marriage pictures coming from the killing fields, the Reagan administration put out a critical piece of disinformation claiming that the Iranians might have perpetuated the attack, a claim the administration knew to be false. But this was one instance of many in which the United States provided cover for Saddam Hussein. In 1983 and again in 1984, in the midst of the Iran-Iraq War, Donald Rumsfeld was dispatched to Iraq to assure Hussein that he had broad latitude in pursuing his war against Iran, including the use of mustard and nerve gas. Chemical weapons became a standard part of the Iraqi arsenal. And in February 1984, Saddam Hussein, in a chilling speech, felt comfortable enough about his chemical warfare campaign to warn the Iranians that for every insect, there was an insecticide. Incredibly, Iraq in the 1980s had the support of the United States, the Soviet Union, the European Union, and most of the Arab states. Germany provided most of the equipment and supplies for the production of Iraq's chemical weapons, and the United States provided Iraq with diplomatic recognition and billions of dollars in trade credits to buy agricultural precursor products that was turned into the gas. Even the United Nations provided cover by refusing to take up the issue of weapons violations in the Security Council and dragging its feet as Iran repeatedly called for investigations. As the United States moved closer to Iraq, the Iran-Contra scandal broke, leaving Iraqis and the rest of the Arab world to wonder at American duplicity. This was a time when the United States was supplying both Iraq and Iran with weapons. We were Iraq's ally, but we were under the table selling Iran weapons and using the enormous profits from those sales to fund the Contra war in Nicaragua. The lessons for Iran was clear. The world would turn a blind eye to the use of weapons of mass destruction, and the only defense against future attacks would be a nuclear deterrent. Hiltermann describes in detail the catastrophic results of US and Western policy towards Iraq and Iran during these years. Fear of the Iranian Revolution and Islamic fundamentalism drove the Arab states and the West to policies that made the world an infinitely more dangerous place. It is impossible to understand our current situation without understanding this profoundly disturbing history.